Might be a hard pill to swallow for some of you guys, but you should be thanking Senator Thorpe and Senator Payman for voting against the misinformation bill. You know, in this case, their votes count and their opinions count, and you have to be big enough to admit when someone is right and when they're wrong. And don't be afraid of giving recognition where recognition is deserved. So well done to Senator Payman and well done to Senator Thorpe for voting in favour of the people, especially kids that need to be heard. Because if their voices aren't heard, they're more than likely go down a rabbit hole, where a rabbit hole we don't want them to go down in, to go into the dark web or engage with people that's going to lead them astray on a different website. Secondly, it's their mental health. This releases a lot of stress and tension for these kids, and it gives them a voice in time of need. So for me, as a parent, I say thanks. And thank you for voting against the misinformation bill and the possibility of a digital ID. Because for both these things, everybody would have to register in one form or another to prove how old they are.
The misinformation bill, for example, I won't be supporting that. I've been talking to community members and stakeholders. There's real problems with that piece of legislation where, black and brown people could be demonised as part of that process. So it's the detail, the devil in the detail in these pieces of legislation that I'm digging into and negotiating with the government to either fix it or I won't support it.
Freedom of speech is a pillar of our democracy, and this bill threatens that. I've heard from so many of you who share this concern, and I agree. Of course, misinformation and disinformation are a problem, but this bill isn't the answer. The powers it grants could lead to over-censorship, with the government deciding what does and doesn't count as the truth. That's not the Australia I believe in. That's why I will vote against this bill. I will always stand up for our freedoms and for an Australia where all voices can be heard. You can rely on me to have your back.
Social media has a big role to play in the lives of young Australians, and what we've said, what we announced in June was a desire to put the age at 16 before young Australians can access social media. The government's sat on their hands for all of this year, in fact all of this term. Our argument is that there should be bipartisan support. We welcome the government's commitment to the announcement that we've made, but we think it should be legislated by Christmas. No carve-outs for the companies, as the government's now talking about. These social media companies couldn't care less about Australian kids, so we have to. And we have to make sure that the online environment is a safe one for them. And I hope that the government can present a bill to the Parliament next week so that we can pass it by Christmas and give what I think would be a really good present to Australian families and to parents.
I've listened to the experts and to people in the ACT, and I'll be opposing the Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill unless major changes are made to the legislation. Because as it stands, I don't believe it takes the right approach to dealing with misinformation.